Hey guys, Long Haul Larry. We're out here in Frederick, Maryland. Since I was out here and had my accident, broke my back, I've actually pretty much finished that building. But for some reason, I mean, it looks finished. This needs to be interior, but there seems to be nobody working here, but they're still working out of a little trailer. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. But we are going to be working on a trailer today. It says check the bushings and alignment. Driver says loud bang from suspension when airbags airing up. Okay. I don't know what driver said that, but that's normal. I'm gonna have to ask what that's about. Who said that? That's actually those deals that swing down and keep the trailer when the suspension drops, when it airs out. They swing down and they sit on the frame, and then when you air it up and you have a load on it, those things go boom boom. And I've had people come back when I've gotten loaded or something like that, and I pull off the door to close the doors, and they come out and seal it, and they'd be standing there and the trailer's airing up, and just as I'm like closing the doors or I'm just getting up inside there, enough air gets in there, so boom boom, and you'll see the guy jump. What was that? That's just suspension. That's my guess. The rear slack adjusters, S-cams, grease, and check over the PSI system and the status light. So those are my things for today. I do need to go, and this is a kind of an app thing that he's doing now. I worked on a trailer yesterday, and I guess he wants me to fill it out on there, and he's able to keep track of what's going on. But I mean, the cabinets are not too bad. Things are pretty much I straightened everything out, and I kind of went through the stock of stuff and made a list for him so that he could reorder a few things and things that are getting low. And so I got everything pretty much cleaned up. So now we're gonna get working on this trailer. And the first thing I'm gonna do is get this air compressor fired up. Two purposes by doing that. One, it heats up the truck. It'll put heat in air. And the other thing is I gotta have air to the trailer so I can check all the brake systems and all that stuff in order to just do an inspection. So I'm gonna go over, sorry about the noise and the wind and stuff, but I'm gonna go over a quick inspection of a trailer to check things, because I'm gonna tell you that when I did the dispatching, I had a few instances where there was issues with trailers. And I'd ask people, well, how's the brakes look? Are they worn? And guys are like, I don't know, you want me to look at them? Truck drivers, this is your responsibility. This is part of a pre-trip. You should actually be getting underneath and looking at your brakes, at the condition of your brake pads. While you're underneath there, you're also supposed to check for what? Wheel bearings, seals, right? You're supposed to see if they're leaking. You can't look at that unless you get actually underneath there and look at it. And I've asked, not just one driver has been at fault for this. Every driver that I've talked to, they've all said the same thing. I don't know. And so then I have to send them into a shop. This is a quick inspection. Now I'm going to go a little bit more thorough, and I'm using this really cool device that we have for checking all this stuff. But you can do this hooked up to your truck. What you want to do is hook up your truck to it, push in your trailer brakes, but you can leave your tractor brake on so it can't go anywhere. And that supplies air to the trailer. And you want to have power to it so that you can check some of the modules, because this one has a tire pressure deal in it and everything else. So we're going to use this thing here. Got my little remote with me. This thing's awesome. But we're going to turn it on, put power to it. We're going to put air to the trailer and turn it on for the remote. And then I'm going to put power to the ABS. And what I should do is I should turn this light on as it's filling. The light is not coming on, so we might have an issue here. So the first thing I'm going to do while I'm sitting here is I'm going to check for the DOT. And the DOT was done in July of 2021, so we're good to go with the DOT inspection. Got to have a DOT inspection within a year. So as we're walking down, what I'm doing is I'm listening for air leaks. I'm gonna just walk around looking at it for air leaks quick. I'm just walking around a trailer and I'm listening for air leaks. I got some noise going on around here, but I can't hear no air leaks. I gotta go get my tape measure, I forgot it. Alright, we're underneath there. This really hurts my back. Like, this scraper kills me. So the one thing that we're looking at, this I'm gonna kind of do some of the stuff that truckers should be looking at. That's gonna be it's supposed to be part of a pre-trip, but also I'm gonna go a little bit beyond because I'm doing a full inspection of it. But he wants to know if the bushings are worn out. These are the bushings. There's big rubber bushings that are up inside here, and this is what is being inspected. Okay, now these things right on the side here, these are just wear plates to keep the bushing arms off of the mounting plates. They're just plastic, and you just want to make sure that they're still there, they're not broken, they're not too far cupped or worn or nothing like that. These are fine yet, they're still there. And to check these utility, you can do this with a tape measure. Basically, all you want to do is put a tape measure on the bottom of this bushing arm here, not the welded part, but the bottom of the bushing arm here. And you want to have it right alongside here, right on here. And it has to be less than 3/4 of an inch. And it is fine, it's under 3/4 of an inch. So that bushing is fine. These are all fine. That is under 3/4, so we're fine there. But now here's the part where truck drivers are supposed to be looking, okay? That right there is not something truck drivers are looking at. But what you want to be doing is you want to be looking at the cross members as you're going underneath here. You want to be looking for cracks in the metal, in the beams and everything. You want to be inspecting everything, making sure there's no cracks and nothing. But here's where I'm going to get into the truckers, okay? You actually need to look up underneath here, and here is your brake pads. And these brake pads, you can see like there's a line on them. You can see that line that runs, it's about 1/4 inch below the metal part of the shoe. That line is the DOT line. If it is below that line, if these bottom part is worn and it's right at the line or beyond it, then that is the DOT line. These brake pads would need to be replaced if it's below this line. But you can see they are not. These brake pads are just fine. But you're also supposed to look up inside there to see, it may be kind of hard for you guys to see, it's a little dark down here, but you want to look underneath there and see if you see oil. That is part of a DOT inspection. Okay? So now we're looking over at this side. Same thing. Brake pads are good. And there's no oil up in here. Now I am going to be checking the throw. And now I am able to do this. The truck driver would not be responsible for doing this. They could if they want to, but you'd have to get some assistance. But basically what you do is you just put a tape measure. This is how the DOT officer is going to inspect it. When they say that your brakes are out of adjustment, this is what they mean. So we're putting a tape measure on here. And we are at 11 3/4, okay? And then you activate the brakes. Okay, and we have just under 2 inches. Alright, so we're moving on back to the back axle here. I need to check my bushings up here. See, those are all good, they're in there. That is under 3/4 of an inch. Bushings are fine. I'll check the other side, but now look at this here. You see this big gap right here in between this brake pad? These brake pads are pretty much brand new, but look at these big gap in here. I can tell you right now, these brakes are way out of adjustment, okay? You'll never have a big gap like that. You almost won't be able to see the gap if they're adjusted properly. But see, that's, by the time that this brake goes, see now, I'm going to show you here. I'm going to try to. You guys are going to be able to see that. I can't see the angle of it. But let's hold a tape measure up against it. Okay, so we got 11 1/4. Let's see how much break throw we have. Go all the way out to 14. So we got 2 3/4 inch of break throw. For some reason my remote isn't activating correctly. That is way, way too much breakthrough. So we got a problem here. So we got to figure it out. What causes the problem? It could be a slack adjuster, which it is. But see this wobble side to side with this S-cam? This S-cam's junk. I mean this slack adjuster. We've actually had this looked at it at a shop, and they said the S-cam's tubes are worn out, everything else. So we're gonna take a look at it. I mean, they have a little bit of play. It's not terrible. They're not completely worn out. But this is all brand new stuff. But what we can do is adjust it, and I can tell you that we've been having a problem with this lately. And I've actually gotten off on the phone with Bendix, who makes a slack adjuster. And here's the problem. So now I can adjust it, can tighten this up. Okay, there's all the way tight. This is just a 3/8 ratchet. And now I'm backing it off. That is way too easy. And usually 3/4 of a turn is where you're back up, where you're setting them. That's what it should look like. You saw how there was a big gap there. The thing is that these slack adjusters, they have no ratcheting in them. And older slack adjusters, what happens is when you back them off, it goes click, 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 click. And it's the locking mechanism in there clicking. And I've actually called up Bendix and I've talked to them about it, and they said this is a new style slack adjuster, and they said there's really no clicking noise in it. They said with the new design, the clicking noise isn't there, and they said it's kind of just by feel and stuff, and if it can be backed off real easily, like a bolt that's a new bolt and it comes off, then that is saying that it's bad. And I'm just like, that is the stupidest thing ever. Put the locking back in there. I've actually talked to the boss, had a conversation with him. He was just here, and I actually sent this slack adjuster with him, and I told him to go down to Fleet Pride or whatever and find an older style slack adjuster that has the locking mechanism in it that clicks, because then you know it's locked. We've actually had this problem. This trailer got shut down because it was out of adjustment, and it was adjusted. And then the driver was complaining about it. And he said, you know, I've been having a lot of problems with this. He says, I probably have had replaced since I've been here, when I broke my back, since I've been gone. He said he's actually probably had about 6 of these slack adjusters replaced. And so I just think it's these things. So I'm actually going to be pulling this off, put new slack adjusters in it. This will get this on the road. This will be functionable trailer. And he's going to do some research, and we're going to try to find an older slack adjuster that actually has the locking mechanism that clicks, because then you know they're not going to back off. Now if they just get a little bit worn, basically from what Bendix tells me, if they just get a little bit worn, then they're just going to back off. Well, I mean, that's just way too easy to back off. So we're going to pull this apart. And that slack adjuster just pivots on there. I don't like them. So we're going to be taking this off, and there's just a clip on here that you pop off, and then the slack adjuster will come off there. And I think there's enough room where we can get it off of there. So we're going to be working on that. We got to pull the pins on here. It's pretty easy. I've done this in the past. You guys have seen this. You just pull these 2 pins off. We'll adjust it out so it's away from the arm. Take the clip off, the little clip off here, and it should pull off. If it doesn't, I have a slack adjuster tool that I made, and we'll pull them off and change them. All right, guys, we got both slack adjusters replaced now. Got everything in there. Everything is good, so now we just got to adjust them. Basically, we just tighten them up. So the brake pads bottom out. And I usually go 3/4 of a turn. But you guys saw how easy it was with the other slack adjusters. I could do it just one hand and just pull it around. But now with the new slack adjusters, see, now there's actually resistance. It's a quarter, half. There's 3/4. And now you can see the gap here. See how there's really no gap? It's just the brake pads are loose, but there's no gap. That's what you're looking for. So now I got to grease all these up, and I'll start greasing as I go forward and everything. And one other thing that you get, that a truck driver should be checking. Remember this. This is a, now there is a spring that is up inside here. And sometimes those springs break, especially when mechanics, I just looked over, especially when mechanics mess with this stuff, they don't put the plug back in, and all the snow and ice comes up, and there's a plug up on the front where you can lock these out, and mechanics pull them out, and then they won't put them back in. I can never figure out why. It's just laziness. But I just looked over, and guess what? Over on that side, see up on the front there? See the plug? See the black plastic plug? It's just hanging there. So we didn't put it back in there. That's what messes those springs up. What happens is all the snow and rain and crap gets up inside there, and it's metal parts in there, and all that moisture gets inside there, and it rusts out that spring and they break. The way to check those, I've shown this in the past, but the way to check them is just whack them with a hammer. You hear that? See, it's a nice thud. If there's a broken spring, you'll hear it different. That's fine. Those are fine. If there's a broken spring, you'll hear a ting, because then the spring jumps inside there. So I just got to grease everything up, grease up the front axle, check those two brake chambers, and away we go. All right, guys, I was going up to the front axle here, and I was checking everything. And remember how I told you to check these brake chambers for the springs broken in them? Listen very carefully, see if you can hear it. Hear it? I'll do the other side. You can hear the difference. Hear it? That's a broken spring. It's got that little ting ting noise in there. It's just got a broken spring in this brake chamber. See? Well, this brake chamber's got to be changed too. Well, we got our new brake chamber I'll put on there. But I am not liking these slack adjusters. I never have, because they don't have the click, 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 you know, when you back them off. Gotta make sure that they stay locked. So I've talked to the boss, and he's done some research, and he got me some new ones. They're from Gunite, you pronounce it. And we're gonna try these. And decided that the rear ones are bad on here. And that's why I got put out of service. Because talking to boss, actually the other mechanic actually adjusted these brakes like 2 weeks before the truck driver got shut down for the brakes being on adjustment. So it was, the slack adjusters were junk back there. They said it was the rear axle, but the front one was, you know, it was out of adjustment too. So I'm just gonna change them all over. We're gonna try them, but I can't get this old slack adjuster off. So I get to use my fancy tool. This actually came from my house when I was hurt. The boss needed this, I guess, to change something, and he didn't have one, didn't want to spend the money for it. I actually custom made this one in my house. Made it out of 1/4-inch steel and welded it all up and bent it. And actually, it's pretty cool. It works really good. It just fits right over top of the slack adjuster like that. Hooks on the top. And then you just put a bolt through the bottom. And then I just have a threaded rod that goes into the cam, the S cam. And I just got a nut welded on the end of it. You just tighten it on there and it'll pull it off. Worried about that hitting on there. Here we go. And there's Long Haul Larry's slack adjuster puller. You can see how it fits on there. I just made it so it hooks on the back side of there. Took some 1/4 inch steel and I welded it all up and everything. And I bent it to fit the cam. And you can see it's a Long Haul Larry pet number 1. All right, so we got our, it's a 7/16. And just gonna tighten it up a little bit here to, yes, this is those ratcheting ones. These are the good ones. Forget those stupid, oh, I'm so special, brand new cam things, you know what I mean? New design. When I was talking to the Benex guy and I says, you know, why do you gotta try to change it? And, I mean, it's worked for so many years, just leave it alone. He's like, yeah, we've had issues with them and stuff, and people are having issues. And I said, well, I'll figure it out. I said, you can always just blame it on Trump. That's what I told the guy. He just laughed. There we go. Always make sure to put anti-seize on those pins. Those pins have to freely turn. If they don't, it'll actually bind up all your brake. All right, so we got air supplied to it. Tighten the brakes up. You notice I got a bigger ratchet. There's a reason for that. Okay, brakes are bottomed out. The reason why is because those other slack adjusters don't have a ratcheting to them, so they're pretty easy. Which I kind of go, really what's holding them back from actually staying where they should. So, but these here I believe are going to be the ratcheting ones. I've used gunnites before. Let's see, yep, there they goes. There's a 1/4. There's a 1/2. And there's 3/4. And there you go. There's a properly adjusted brake. And you can hear by that ratcheting noise that it's going to be hard for it to back, you know, to come loose. For the other ones, when they just wear a little bit, they go, I don't want to work quite right. And then you adjust them and the driver goes out and they still couldn't want to adjust. He's actually been having a lot of problems with this. So I have told him, I told him if these are the right ones, I think they are, then we need to get a whole bunch of these. They are. They're the right ones. So I'm going to send him a message, tell him just order like a half a dozen of these things at a time and just have them in the truck. Every time we find a slack adjuster that doesn't have good pressure on it, just replace it with one of these. Get rid of those other stupid things. So I'm going to actually replace the other side and put a new one over there too. And in this trailer, the brakes will be all good. Well, we got all the brakes all done and everything. And the next thing on my list was to check the inflation thing. And I guess the other guy that was here messed around with these or something like that. This one, the inflation was set at 120 and the deflation was set at 122. It's just too close. And they're leaking air and stuff, so I'm gonna go through them. And for some reason, he took the cap off of here. So I can't check the light up in the front because you just take it and spin it around backwards, screw it on. But all these trailers, all the caps are missing and they're supposed to be here. Boss said he's gonna try to figure that out. But I got it set now. I just wrote it up in the cap. Inflation at 105, deflation at 115. So it's all set. So now I just gotta go through the rest of the trailer, check all the I-beams going up, and then I have to check the reefer, the belts, all that, and this one will be good to go. All right, so we got everything done back there. Now we can just check over. Oil was just changed 7/21. We'll check the oil. I can already see the alternator belt is loose without even touching it. Like super loose. Sorry about that. My battery died on my other camera, so I'm just gonna use my phone. The oil is good. Check our belts. Those are good. I can already see this alternator belt. You can already see that. See how loose it is? So you need to tighten that up. That's pretty easy. There's a 1/2-inch bolt right down here. You just loosen that 1/2-inch bolt up. And then there's an 18mm bolt that's up inside of this plate. It's on the top of the alternator. Loosen that up. You can just use a pry bar, push the alternator down until it's tight. Tighten the bolts back up. And the DOT is good on this one. And so then we'll be good. This trailer is done. And we actually have a service stickers on the front of the trailer now. That was my recommendation when I was here, when I hurt myself. We were starting to go through these trailers. We should get stickers on here so we can write down, okay, this trailer's been serviced. So this trailer is done. R71 is ready to rock. So I'm just gonna tighten up the alternator belt, and this one is ready to go. So I'm gonna let you guys go. I hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day, great night as they watch this here video. And if you're not, you can try that all over again tomorrow. So I'm gonna run this one back over to the trailer yard and ask the boss, what's the next one? Hopefully I can make another. I'm not doing it today. Today I'm done. I'm so sorry. This is getting to be a bit much. It took me like 3 hours today to get here, sitting on ice and in a hot shower trying to loosen back up again. Hopefully I can make it here tomorrow. We can do one. I hear there's a snowstorm coming in here, so hopefully I can get one more trailer done before the snow comes in here. And then I have another project that I need to work on up in the shop, but trying to get a few trailers done here. I'll catch you later.